All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about the incredible evolution of FinOps. And trust me, it's a discipline that is growing way, way beyond just managing the cloud bill. So let's explore where it's all headed.
So, when I say FinOps, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most people, it's probably, shaving a few percentage points off the AWS or Azure bill. And for a long time, that was pretty much the whole story. But that story is changing fast.
Because the reality is, FinOps is totally broken out of that initial box. It's not just a tactic for one little piece of the budget anymore. It's becoming a strategic mindset for all of technology. And this quote from the FinOps Foundation, it just nails it. The conversation is shifting from the business value of cloud to the business value of technology. It might seem like a small change in words, but that one little switch signals a massive, massive expansion of its scope.
So that's the big question we're going to tackle today. In this explainer, we're going to look at the new playbook for FinOps. We'll see how companies are actually using it in the real world, and then we'll check out what the next big frontiers are for this whole discipline. And make no mistake, this isn't some tiny niche trend we're talking about. The FinOps Foundation now has something like 85,000 people participating in its programs. That is a huge global community all working together to shape this evolution.
Okay, so how is this expansion actually happening on the ground? Well, the key is a framework called FinOps Scopes. It's what allows people to take that core FinOps mindset and apply it to a much, much wider range of tech challenges.
To put it simply, a scope is just any chunk of tech spending that you want to manage using FinOps principles. Think of it like this. It's a lens that you can point at all these different parts of your budget, from software to hardware, to bring some much-needed clarity, accountability, and of course, value.
And wow, this slide just shows you how far those lenses are pointing now. I mean, public cloud, that was the foundation, right? That's where it all started. But now, FinOps is being adapted to manage everything from SaaS licenses and on-prem data centers to super complex data platforms and, you guessed it, the crazy costs of AI and machine learning.
Okay, that all sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like in practice? Let's get into some real-world stories from companies that are already putting these new scopes into action.
First up, Carlsberg. They were using Microsoft's big data platform and everything was going just fine. Until suddenly, it wasn't. They got hit with a massive, totally unexpected spike in their costs. A classic FinOps moment, if you will. And you can see the damage right here on this chart. Whoa, that huge jump in March 2024 was a serious wake-up call. Turns out a change in Microsoft's licensing model had a pretty immediate and pretty significant impact. The real question, though, is what they do about it.
Well, they didn't panic. They went straight to the classic FinOps lifecycle. First, inform. They got all the right people in a room to actually understand the data. Then, optimize. They took those insights and turned them into savings by buying reservations and tuning their capacity. And finally, operate. They put a whole new process in place with governance and alerts to make sure this kind of surprise wouldn't happen again. It's a perfect case study.
And it's not just happening with data platforms. Over at the global HR firm Randstad, the leaders saw the amazing value FinOps brought to their cloud spend, and they basically asked, hey, this is great. Can you do that for everything else? And the answer was a resounding yes. They started extending those FinOps principles to manage software licenses, support contracts, their entire IT cost structure.
So this expansion is also leading to some really powerful new alliances inside of companies. And one of the most important partnerships that's forming is between FinOps and IT Asset Management, or what we call ITAM.
I absolutely love this analogy from the ITAM forum. They say, think about a supermarket. The delivery trucks aren't exactly the sexy part of the business, right? But hey, without them, there's no food on the shelves. So managing them is a strategic necessity. ITM does that exact same essential strategic job for all of a company's technology assets.
And you know what? The two are perfect partners. FinOps is laser-focused on getting value out of all that variable consumption-based spending. ITAM, on the other hand, is the master of governance and risk for all IT assets. You bring them together, and suddenly you have a complete 360-degree view of your entire tech world. And that means better negotiations, smarter decisions, and a whole lot less risk.
All right, let's talk about the next massive wave that's already crashing on the shore, FinOps for artificial intelligence. This visual really captures the core problem perfectly. You've got executives who are pounding the table demanding innovation with AI. But at the same time, the skyrocketing costs of doing AI are becoming a real threat to the very research and development they're supposed to be fueling. This is exactly where FinOps becomes absolutely critical.
But here's the thing. Applying FinOps to AI means you have to fundamentally change your mindset. See, with mature tech like cloud servers, the main question is often, how can we make this cheaper? But with AI, the whole goal is innovation. So the question has to become, what value is this going to generate? And that simple shift changes everything. It moves the FinOps focus from just optimizing rates to doing complex forecasting and cost allocation, trying to tie every single dollar spent on AI to a real business outcome.
So, when you put all these pieces together, what's the big picture? It means FinOps is growing up. It's earning a seat at the strategic table.
Ultimately, here's the key takeaway. FinOps is no longer just the tactical team you call when the cloud bill gets a little too high. It's evolving into a strategic partner for the C-suite, providing the critical insights they need to make smart decisions about every single technology dollar, whether that dollar is going into the cloud, into SaaS, into data, or into AI.
And that really leaves us with one final question, a question for you to take back to your own organization. As FinOps keeps evolving at this incredible pace, is your practice still just focused on optimizing a bill, or is it helping to shape the future of technology value for your company? Thanks so much for joining me.